Hi guys, it's Fabulous Friday and you're with Amy today. This week we are discussing about triggers, all different kinds of triggers, and how we personally can deal with some triggers that we are faced when in recovery from an eating disorder. And I'm just going to kind of highlight a few, how they can trigger somebody and what you can do about it. And the main two that I'm going to talk about today are the issue of paranorexia websites, and I'm also going to be discussing family triggers because at the moment that is something that I feel is quite a prominent issue in my life. Triggers can be situations, they can be events, or they can be comments, they can be anything, a stimulus that can perpetuate someone's eating disorder, or if not just eating disorders, triggers can occur in all types of mental illness, can enable you to develop back into depression, can maybe bring up negative thoughts. If you had something traumatic happen to you and you see something that reminds you of that particular event, then that is a trigger. If you obviously with an eating disorder, there are many things that can enable you to fall back into that eating disorder kind of self-destructive path, and I'm going to talk about two of these. Oh my god, one day I'll learn to talk for the channel, and I'm actually going to talk about some of those today. So the first thing I'm going to talk about as family triggers. If you live with somebody who is particularly triggering, then it can have a huge negative effect on your life. Now, I am finally learning to accept why I may have developed my eating disorder, and I think that not a huge part of it, but a very tiny part of it is to do with my mum and her somewhat addiction to dieting and being on diets and exercising and losing weight. And at the moment she's currently on a diet where she's lost a lot of weight, and it's becoming very difficult to be in the same environment as her when there's all these kind of triggers. You know, she'll get up at 7 o'clock in the morning to exercise, she counts her calories and everything now, and I am slightly worried that she is kind of developing eating disorder behaviours. And that's really hard to have somebody living with you, especially. I've been looking at a few other people's blogs, and people have sometimes their partner is their main trigger, which I can imagine can be absolutely awful. It means that it can be really hard to build an effective relationship with them because you want to avoid these triggers, you want to block these out of your head. And they can be really difficult, but I'm going to give you some tips and things like that which I think I may have to do at some point soon. You know, people who suffer with eating disorders are naturally sensitive anyway, and they are more likely to be affected by triggers such as these, but not everyone has. You know, people are different, we all vary from person to person, not everyone is as easily triggered. So obviously my mum or people in your family may not realise that they're actually being a trigger to you. Which is why the first thing you need to do is ultimately communicate with the person. Communication is the ultimate key. You know, to manage your you need to talk to them. You know, maybe just sit them down and just say, Mum, Dad, your brother, your sister, you know where I've been, you know what place I have been in. I really would prefer it if we were not to discuss openly food, calories, weight, the weighing of oneself in this environment, because it can spur on negative thoughts. And if they can then understand why you're choosing to act in this way, they may kind of take measures to stop it. And also, if you are worried about them, and I am worried about my mum and the danger she's inflicting on herself, I mean, yes, she is happy that she's losing weight, and I'm happy for her that she's happy, but at the same time, obviously we all know, that was my phone, I'm really sorry, how dangerous these things can be. So it also is wise to talk with them. And a huge part of recovery is communication anyway, so this can be a very vital step in communicating with parents and helping them to understand a lot more about how you're feeling. So communication is the ultimate key here. Also, the thing with my mum recently that I wanted to talk about is that I keep trying to remind myself that I'm in a stronger position by not conforming to her lifestyle. I'm in a stronger place now that I'm not as much restricting and feeling guilty about myself and my body. And my mum has spent years of self-hatred, hating herself and her body, and it's only now where I realise where I get my kind of eating issues from, but I need to consistently remind myself that I am in a stronger position because I am not actively conforming to an unhealthy lifestyle. I feel a lot better in myself healthily, in health-wise and mentally. I'm a lot more focused. I can concentrate on school. I don't feel like I'm going to collapse every 5 minutes. And you know, when my mum tells me how many calories she eats a day, I remember when I was on that amount, and it's not, you know, it's not healthy for anybody. And you have to just keep yourself in the position of a recovered person. You know, if you are recovered, think how you don't want to go back to that stage again. And that's what's keeping me going at the moment. You know, I just think, well, you know, my mum's doing it, you know, why can't, you know, I? And it's quite embarrassing when you go out with your mum, because my mum's quite young anyway, and you know, it's quite embarrassing that my mum actually looks better than me the majority of the time when we go out. And she came out the other day, she looks stunning, and I was like, Mum, this is just ridiculous. She looks so much better than me. I just look like an idiot, you know. And it does make me feel really horrible, but I have to put myself in a stronger position that I'm healthy and I'm happy now. And that means more to me than losing weight and being in a competitive position with my parents or siblings. I mean, I don't have siblings, so I can't really relate to sibling triggers in that respect. But if you do have sibling triggers as well, just remind yourself that their mind is not healthy. What they're doing to themselves is not healthy. They have an unbalanced negative view of themselves. And if you are recovered, then you are in that stronger position and you are healthy. You know, think of how much more positive and how much, you know, how refreshing that is. The next thing I'm going to talk about is pro-anorexia websites. Now, I'm not entirely sure how many people on the channel have had experience with pro-ana. I unfortunately have, when I was in kind of like my worst stages, but this was when I was a lot younger. I would never go on a pro-anorexia website now. But I did have a very short period of time where I would use them as the tips and tricks kind of source. And it's been a hard thing to admit actually to the camera, because I don't want to admit things like that. I don't want to admit that I turned to the internet as a method of teaching myself how to lose weight, because obviously now I'm aware that that's not a healthy thing to do. You know, my opinion on them, obviously, you know, they didn't make me iller. You know, that's like saying that the media causes eating disorders. They don't, which is what angers me, is that people state that the media and pro-anorexia websites cause eating disorders. They can influence them, they can lead them on, and they can, you know, I can't talk today. You know, they can lead somebody on to someone's eating disorder. They can be a contributing factor, but they are not the cause. But that doesn't mean that they're not bad. They are one. It pains me to see that girls still go on these websites, go on these forums, share tips and tricks of each other. All the tips and tricks on there, they're just dreadful to look at, and it makes me very, very thankful that I'm not in that position anymore. And also you have to remind yourself that if you are thinking of going on a pro-anorexia website, remember that you have the choice whether or not you want to do that. And every time I've ever had that kind of thought in my head, I have the choice. I'm not sick anymore. I can't. Why would I want to self-destruct and go back to that unhappy lifestyle that I was at? You know, how far have I come in the past few years? I don't want to engage in this behaviour. And we have a choice, you know, it's not forced upon us. Unfortunately, the internet, I don't agree with a lot of the things the internet does nowadays anyway. A lot of things that are on there shouldn't be on there. It's really, it saddens me, and it's unfair that these types of things can be put on the internet for anybody to view. Anybody, literally anybody who can stumble across them one day, and it's really, really sad. But what I'm going to say in regards to avoiding these triggers is maybe try and make a list of new coping skills for you to engage in instead of going on the pro-anorexia websites, if that is what you kind of use. Try and make a list of new coping skills, things that you can do other than go on pro-anorexia websites. Call a friend, go for a walk, you know, do this, do that. Like similar to techniques that you would use when trying to avoid self-injury or trying to avoid negative thoughts. Try and think of something else that, you know, even block anorexia websites from your computer as a very good start. Just block any kind of negative feeling, anything that's going to knock you down, bring you down. I can't express enough for how sad pro-anorexia makes me. It saddens me that people in some ways want to be like this. Obviously I understand they're ill, but I'm really mixing up my words today, sorry. But having a list of coping skills to turn to, I think is really, really important. Also, maybe blocking the websites is a really, really good idea from your computer. I'm not entirely sure how to do that, but I'm sure there are ways, because, you know, things at school, and like I know that you can block certain websites at my school and things like that, so there must be a way that you can do it. And I think that's a really, really good idea, because then you know that they're just inaccessible to you and you're not going to go anywhere near them. Also the forums and things like that, people just spare each other on it. It's not nice, it's not a nice environment. And as much as I want there to be a day where pro-anorexia and, you know, these kind of websites don't exist, it seems like false hope at the moment, but I'm hoping if we can kind of work and banish and kind of create a message of how damaging these websites are, you know, maybe there will be a day where, you know, the lifestyle of pro-anorexia will be kind of invalid and not be used anymore, which should be great. And yeah, it just saddens me that people use these to kind of like spur them on. It's not nice. Obviously, like I say, I have engaged in, not because I've never been pro-anorexia, but I have been on the websites. I was never pro-anorexia, I've never obviously engaged in that kind of thing, but I have actively been on the websites when I was a very young age, probably about 13 or 14, 15 even, you know, so that was a while ago, and I've grown up a lot since then and realised the amount of danger they can do to people. So yes, so yeah, they are my kind of tips and things like that, and how to deal with the two triggers that I think that have that affected me now, like the family triggers and the pro-anorexia websites, which have had a tiny bit of influence on me in the past. I'm sure the girls can come up with some other fantastic ideas in order to keep yourself free of being affected by triggers, but I think this is enough for me from, I cannot talk, getting on my nerves. I'm really sorry, I'm so incoherent. I've literally just got in and I knew I had to record the video today, so I literally just sat down with the camera and just started talking, and now I'm just like, there are no decent words coming out of my mouth. But I hope you did manage to understand the majority of what I was trying to say. I'm really, really enjoying being on the channel. I love all of you guys who have been supportive, and I will see you all for the next video next Friday. I love you all, bye!